Matt Shelley. I'm here today with head coach of the Woodland Bobcats, Larry Strain. How you doing today, Coach?
Doing well.
Good. We'll start off by talking a little about the Bowdon game last week. You saw some positives, some negatives come out of that. Let's talk about the positives first.
Well, we thought we played a real good first half. I thought my kids played extremely well. They got a kid, the Askew kid from Bowdon, that I think everybody in the world is trying to recruit. He's supposedly the fastest kid in the state of Georgia. I think he runs a 4.23 is what he's been timed electronically. So, that's a pretty tall task, and in order to kind of shut him down, keep him from breaking it. He ended up breaking one long run on us there, and he actually went to one side of the field and reversed the field. And other than that, we had one long pass. Other than that, I thought my kids played well, other than the fact that we basically just gave out in the second half. And partially because of that reason is we're only playing about 14 kids. And it's not because that I don't have other players, it's just my other players are so young. I've got a senior and junior class that combines of 12 players, so that means I'm having to play younger kids. And right now, just the ability level is not quite there because of the maturity factor.
Okay. What about Bowdon's numbers? Depth-wise, where were they compared to y'all?
Well, as far as the size of school they're about twice the size of school that we are in size. Depth-wise, I don't know exactly the numbers that they play, but I would say they probably played 18 or 20 kids, somewhere in that area, as the game progressed. And their age of kids didn't fall off as much as mine down to the 9th and 10th graders that was having to play. So that's a big factor in a football game.
Okay. When we spoke earlier this week, prior to the paper coming out, you talked a little bit about how you were surprised the defense played as well as it did, especially in the first half, considering the youth and the secondary. And y'all managed to hem up the Askew kid pretty well for the most part, didn't you?
Right, we sure did. Really going into the game, we thought our offense was going to be able to move the ball all night. And we thought that we would be able to score. The problem was we just didn't feel like that going into the first game that we was going to be able to stop them. We was really more concerned about our defense. When we got into the game, it was really the opposite way around. We had a hard time moving the football and scoring, and some of it was because of missed assignments and a few odds and ends, but it had a lot to do with Bowdon being physical and able to run to the football. And they actually played a different defense than what we was expecting to. I've seen them play Hanley, and they played a totally different defense against us than they did them. They went to 6-1. Rushed the two outside linebackers, and the two defense ends stayed at home because we hurt them so bad on the zone last year. And then they locked up man-to-man. Well, when you lock up man-to-man on us, they had that number 2, the Askew kid, and two of their other best players were locked up on my receivers, and it was hard for my receivers to get open.
Okay. Well, let's move on and talk about the first region game against Horseshoe Bend. Is that going to be here or over there? That's
going to be at Horseshoe Bend. And this region is always tough. Starting off with Horseshoe Bend, we've been fortunate to be in the playoffs the last 7 years in a row. That's always a goal of ours. And this first game is very important to get you started on the right track. Horseshoe Bend is always tough at Horseshoe Bend, and they were our 4th seed last year in our region. So it's going to be a tough ball game for us.
Well, another thing I was going to ask you about. The games that I've covered over at Horseshoe Bend, the crowd always seems to be, one of the toughest crowds to play in.
Well, it is, and one thing is, and I'm not knocking officials, but they use different official associations. So generally, when we go there, we have a tough time playing them. I think last time we played over there 2 years ago, it was a rain game, so we played in the mud, and I think we won that ball game by 2 touchdowns. But I think the time before, I think we only beat them 7-0, and I think that may have been the year that we played a state championship game. And that tells you there's some concerns there about having to travel over and play at Horseshoe Bend.
Okay. Did you have a chance to go see Horseshoe Bend play Wadley last week?
I did. Went to see Horseshoe Bend play Wadley. A lot of offense. I think the score at halftime was 40-33, but then I think both of their kids gave out as well in the second half because there wasn't as much scoring in the second half.
Okay. Based on what you saw there and what you've seen on film, what are you expecting out of Horseshoe Bend?
Well, Horseshoe Bend is going to run spread offense primarily, and they're going to get in there and they're going to throw a lot of the jails and the quick screens out there. They got a number 3 that plays out there that's real good. And he's got a lot of speed, a lot of agility. If he's able to get open, they're trying to create space for him. Is what they're trying to do. And on the other side, they got number 6 that's about the same type of kid that. Forcing you to cover the whole field is what they're trying to do. The fronts, don't really know how good their fronts are, so it's hard to say. I just seen them that one time and seen them on that one film. But I'm sure they're going to be a tough opponent as far as the fronts goes. But the other night against Woodland, it's primarily everything on the edge. They want to get on the edge and play with the speed. Defensively, I would guess they would play us the same defense that they played Woodland. They're probably going to play a lot of 4-3, some 5-1, probably maybe even some 6-1 after they see my Bowdon film.
Okay. Going back to the depth issue, do you feel like y'all are on a little bit more equal footing with a team like Horseshoe Bend depth-wise?
I would think so. Not as big a school as what Bowdon was there, and I know that he's probably having to play some young kids as well. And traditionally, we're not this young. Everybody talks about, oh, we're young, but we are young. And when I'm saying I'm starting a 9th grader, and in this league, it's tough to start a 9th grader. Offensively or defensively, you just can't hide them. And the rule of thumb is for every 10th grader down you play, that's usually a football game you're going to lose during the course of the season. Well, I hope that's not the case. I hope the rule is, because we're playing a lot of 10th graders. Because I think I'm playing 5 10th graders that's ended up starting. So that's 6 kids right there that I know that are in underclass that's playing.
Okay. Talk a little bit about what y'all have done this week at practice. I know you probably don't want to get too specific, but what are some things that y'all worked on at practice to maybe correct what happened against Bowdon to make you successful against Horseshoe Bend?
Well, to start with, it's been a tough week because we've had either B-team games or junior high games on Monday night and Tuesday nights. That made our practices to be short there. But we went back and tried to. We always first ball game, somebody that you thought could play really not quite up to snuff. So there is some position changes in some instances on offense and defense. Some kids played better than you thought they could, so they move up in the depth chart and get a chance to play on the field. But the primary thing that we worked on this week, one, was we went from playing a wing T offense to now you're going to play a spread, in which we practice against a spread a lot because we are a spread team. So I think that's one of the biggest factors that we had to work on. So we had to work on more pass scale. We had to work on more jet sweep action. And we had to work on a lot of the jails and the quick screens out there this week that we primarily worked on. As far as us, we had to, because we're already young in the secondary anyway, we had to make sure that we got those additional reps in the secondary in order to help us against the spread team. You don't see the throwing the ball as quite as much in the wing team.
Right. All right. So what's going to be the key to y'all coming out on top?
Well, the key basically in any football game is who's going to control the line of scrimmage. And that's yet to be determined. I think we've got the kids that are capable of controlling the line of scrimmage. Otherwise, we wouldn't battle Bowdon as well as what we did, because that was really the difference. If their fronts was able to really handle us, number two, we got loose a lot of times during the course of the game. So I think the fronts is going to be really the key. Everybody's got some quality of skill people that can go the distance at some time. Sure, everybody's got somebody a little better than other in the skill department, but it generally, even in the college level, it comes down to the fronts. Who can block who, and who can create the holes, and who can keep him from getting blocked on defense.
Okay. All right. The Woodland Bobcats will travel to New Site to take on the Horseshoe Bend Generals this Friday at 7 p.m. Coach, I appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.